to Windy Bay. Pete's nice and warm and dry in the studio. The guys are out here trying to get ready for him. This is the man-made part of Skull Island, man-made 3,000 or 4,000 years ago by an ancient culture who've since died out. As you can see from the rock forms, not natural rock forms, but hand-hewn and placed. So very much part of the culture of Skull Island. What we've got here, these are our polystyrene paving slabs. What we did was we poured concrete, we laid in layers of polystyrene, thin layers of polystyrene, shaped them to get the rock shapes.
The idea here is to just lay a slurry down. We've cut out some pavers at 40mm poly. The reason we're going over it with blow torches to take away the hard edges so they don't break when people travel over them, and basically just get a movement in each individual paver.
And then a coat of concrete to get enough strength, and then a little paint. And the sand, bit of dressing.
What I'm doing here is making the base parts of the rocks which are going up on the walls outside. This part is just the polystyrene carving. Once the rock is carved with the saber saw and knives, shaped up, which is then all glued, cut back, then that goes up on the wall. And that's really the sort of the basic building block of what we're doing here.
This is our stunt rock. What we do is we take a cast of real rock, we use that as our mould, and then we pour or spray foam rubber into that, and when it sets we're left with a softer rock but very much true to the original rock form. So rock shape, rock form, but you can roll on it and you don't break your elbows.
Well, here we are at Windy Point. It's great to be outdoors. We've got a view of the ocean, grass underfoot, got the sky. It's really good for all the crew and cast to get away from Stone Street. People were starting to get crazy.
So here we are on shoot day 33. Interesting number because the original Kong was made in 1933. And after 32 days of shooting, it's the very first time we've shot anything outside of our studio lot.
The construction boys have been surviving out here for weeks and weeks building these sets in the wind, and just about every day it's been blowing, and the film crew came out here and it's serenity.
We're on a set, but we're also outside in the real world.
I know, the first time ever.
Combo.
We have no room in our back lot to actually put a set like this, so this was a convenient space. As you've seen on these video diaries, everyone's been working around the clock over the last week or two to get the set built. It turned out to be a little bit more elaborate, I think, than what we quite imagined it to be.
And just doing a bit more finessing, tying in some mothers and dangly things off the vines, just trying to break those up. They're not quite convincing. Just general detail.
We've got dripping water heads to give a dripping look on the set. We're doing wet downs and everything prior to shooting as well.
Of course, one of the problems with locations is that you're at the mercy of the weather, which is why they're actually quite scary.
10 minutes ago we were here in the sun. I was thinking of getting my jersey off. Now I'm thinking of getting my raincoat on. We've got a southerly front about to hit us. I won't need my drippers. It's all going to happen naturally. I'll be able to work. But I don't mind. Some serious rain in those clouds.
It was a beautiful morning about 5 seconds ago, wasn't it?
Hold me close, Scotty. Hold me close.
I'll protect you.
It's sunny over there.
That's right. Why don't we go up to Stone Street and check? There you go. There's no rain over there, is there? And within half an hour of arriving, it started to pour with rain. But fortunately, it was just a brief shower, and we managed to get most of our shooting done okay today.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, that's it. That's the money. Yeah.
It was good to get outside. Good to get a bit of UV rays. I'm sure we're all going to be a bit healthier at the end of today after being stuck in the studio for nearly a month, and look forward to carrying on this set. The art department have done a fantastic job. A lot of people have worked very hard, and it's a real credit that it's going to look so good on film.
Action!
Today is day 36 here on set, and it's not a very happy day for us.
It's disturbing. There's a guy named Gandalf who's been taking unauthorized photographs of the set and the people, and it's just freaky.
I can't believe that Gandalf would do that to me, not after everything I've done to him.
Motion pictures like to have a level of secrecy, but with Kong is King, as you've seen, we've been showing a bit of behind the scenes stuff.
Hello, what are you doing here? Who said you could come in here?
That doesn't seem to be good enough for one guy in particular. He's going by the name of Gandalf. And he still feels the need to scurry through the bushes and creep along in the dirt. We're gonna go find...
Reg, can you just sort that out? Yes, I can. Thanks. So we've got a spy. Gandalf is his name, and I just wanted to know where do you reckon he's taken these photos from?
Stood right here. There it is.
Sorry, I'm just feeling a bit paranoid today, Andrew. More so than normal.
I'm going to go hide under the tent.
Go. Jack's very concerned about this intrusion into privacy. I think we all should be, and I'm just a little bit worried too. It's hard to concentrate. I mean, you could be scratching your bottom or picking your nose or doing something unpleasant when he's taking photos, and it's not a good look.
Be careful, Pete. Be careful!
He's right there. We've got him. We've got him. Let's roll.
Get out! Get out!
When we got here, he was gone. Just like that. This guy's quick.
Bloody Gandalf. Do you see him?
I don't know. It's hard to say. He could be hiding in the bushes.
Blast his eyes. Blast his eyes!
FYI, the hill, the gentleman in the whites here taking pictures.
He's raising his staff.
What?
He's raising his staff.
He's raising his staff. Is he going to blast us?
I think he's got a telephoto lens.
I wonder if this is how the Balrog felt. This is pretty freaky. Okay, we're going to have to go across to the set now, Jack, and I want you to go as fast as you can, okay?
Okay.
Have you got any...
I'm going to serpentine.
Okay, all right. 3, 2, 1, go, 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 go! Run, 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 run!
End up the white.
Follow that. Go get him.
No way. Not this time, you big great...
Sound no!
Yeah, get by this time. Oh, we were just there. You've got to be kidding me. Why do they always use their powers for evil?
And action.
Stop! Go now! Pete's gonna be pissed.
So here we are on day 40. This is the parking lot where we had the venture way back at the beginning of shooting a few weeks ago, and we've now taken the ship away and we've built what's effectively a big swimming pool here. This particular scene is a swamp scene where the guys are building rafts and paddling along. Fans of King Kong will remember a very similar scene in the first film, and we're doing something along those lines.
We're shooting in the swamp today, yeah, and you know, I think we've got everything ready. It was sort of based on some concept artwork which had been going on for quite a long time. It was really Gus's work actually that sort of we honed in on mostly.
Big close-up thumbs up. You just,
It's been a very kind of difficult one to make because it's just got so many elements to it.
We're in the wet set. We'll have best part of a metre of water in here.
We use gabion technology, which is what they use for shoring up riverbanks, basically. I mean, the thing's sitting on a car park.
Gabions, they're wire baskets full of rocks. That's the base that we used for our pond. And as you can see, it's relatively watertight and holding the 1.8 million litres of water that we've got in the pond. So hopefully it'll all stay together.
We want this to look like a swamp, and so before we start rolling today, we're going to be putting a lot of scum and slime and duckweed along the surface of it.
I'm scum guy. It's just like polystyrene swarf, like just scraped off and ground off. A couple of guys just went hard out for a couple of days, just turned themselves into snowmen. Basically we end up with, bags of it. And then we had to colour it all in concrete mixes. And it does take a while for the colour to come through, but eventually you get beautiful pond scum. Beautiful. All the scummy goodness of pond scum.
And of course we couldn't just go and get dirt and make it into mud. We had to make hygienic mud.
This is wallpaper paste and sterilised peat, basically. And it's good for footprints, you know. You can make shapes with it.
So we've had to sort of develop up mud that's not going to stain the water and yet still sort of have all the other physical attributes of mud.
I tend to take this tree here, and you see where we got all the roots, all these interesting roots here, just rotate it round and bring it in a bit, and so tangle all these roots.
We've designed this gigantic big swamp tree in the middle of the swamp.
This is our tri-tree, we call it. It's a three-piece tree. We can configure it so that it's one tree, or three individual trees, or 1.5 trees.
10 minutes ago it was just one tree, but now we've pulled it apart into 3 individual pieces, and I guess over the next few days it's going to go back into one tree again, maybe.
It's weird looking at this because it doesn't really look like anything at the moment. Of course, where the blue screen is going to be more swamp trees and eventually a distant jungle. And of course we have conceptual artwork which helps us visualise what the finished product's going to look like. So we're basically just looking to get our live action bits with the actors on the rafts, and then a lot of the texture of the swamp, the overhanging trees, the mist, the wildlife in and around the swamp, all that's going to be added later in post-production with the computers.
I don't care what that guy says, I can't see how you're going to make that blue screen into a jungle.
Today we're shooting a sequence where the sailors are having to shoot at something in the swamp. I can assure you it's not butterflies that they're shooting at, but they're using their guns.
I got these earplugs in, and Pete's like giving me
Here
direction.
he comes.
I can't hear a damn thing he says.
He's coming.
At all. I'm trying to lip read though. I think I'm getting most of it, Pete.
I'm sure he's going to use the earplugs every day now, with or without guns.
8 guns firing. It's a lot of noise. Eye protection, ear protection, face protection.
I'll still get shot through the heart, mate, but you're to blame. Of course, in the original movie, you may remember, the sailors were shooting at a brontosaur. I think it was probably the only carnivorous brontosaur in the world, but there's this wonderful scene of the brontosaurus tipping the raft over and staggering out of the swamp after the sailors. The original brontosaur from 1933 still survives and is very close by. We actually have the original model of the brontosaurs here with us today. This is the stop-motion brontosaur that was built, and as you can see, it hasn't stood the test of time very well at all. And the only advantage with it being in such a bad state is it actually allows you to really study and see the way that these models were made back in 1932. A lot of it's made of steel, and the armature forms the basis of the stop-motion puppet, obviously with the ball and socket joints. The cotton was then wrapped over the armature. You can still see the bits of string that attached it and bits of wire. They used some wire mesh netting to pad the creature out, and there's actually evidence of the football bladder that was used for the breathing. And then on top of that was finally a rubber skin, and the rubber skin is largely calcified and in fact disappeared, and what's left is incredibly brittle. There's actually a couple of shots at the beginning of the brontosaur scene that was done with a mechanical brontosaur head rising out of the water. It wasn't stop motion animation like this model, and we actually have that mechanical one over here as well. This was not an animation armature, it was a little mechanical wire rig that when the head of the brontosaur comes out of the swamp, this is what rises out of the water with the water drops dripping on it. Surprisingly small scale, actually, tiny, which is, sort of explains in the movie why the water seems so big and out of scale when it sort of drips from the neck of the creature. But they just made this much of it because all they needed to do was to have it sitting in the water of the swamp, you know, with the water coming up around its body. So this is all that exists of that creature. You can actually still compare it with the photos and recognise its little head. Of course, the irony is that today we don't have miniature dinosaurs anymore. They're all going to be computer generated, but
These are the dinosaurs that inspired me when I was 8, 9 years old and I saw King Kong for the first time. So after 72 years, it's just amazing to think that they're sitting here right in front of us, and an amazing piece of film history.
I just found something out that really pisses me off. I looked at the website Kong is King the other night, and it has me listed as 5 foot 4 inches tall, which is bullshit. Okay, I'm 5 foot 7, and after yoga I'm 5 foot 7.5, and I don't know who's responsible for it, but I'm gonna find out today. Okay, this is a good example. We're about the same height. I want to find out what they said how tall they said you were, because I believe that they said that he's like 5 foot 8.
Yeah.
And I'm 5 foot 4.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, I mean,
are you really 4 inches taller than me?
Jack's not very tall. I mean, I think he wears those, those heel supports. Don't tell him I told you, but I don't think he's very tall.
It's not that I want to be 5'7.5". It's that I am 5'7.5". 5'8" if I've just been doing yoga. I don't know how many times I have to say it.
It's pretty sad how such an innocent comment has really taken Jack's eye off the ball.
What is it?
We can all have a piece of it.
I'll have a piece of it. Sorry.
For a long time he was giving a really good performance, but recently he's become a different man. He's lost a few inches.
Well, I don't want to affect the working atmosphere, but that's affecting my work atmosphere. That's affecting my work atmosphere. When they put lies like that in the internet for everyone to see, that affects my working atmosphere.
Okay.
The grips have just brought you this.
Oh, cool.
There you go. That should just jump up. That should sort things out.
And apparently
that doesn't help me. That doesn't make me feel better.
No, I think this 5'4" thing's pretty accurate, isn't it?
I reckon it's pretty accurate because I'm 5'10".
And even if he's not 5'4", he acts like someone who's 5'4", which is really probably what they're referring to.
Okay. Well, I'll be in my trailer until this is rectified.
All right.
I do yoga, Yoga stretches the tendons and the muscles and the bones. Everyone knows that. Makes you taller. I've been thinking a lot about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these are period, but I really think these would be good for my character.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, so long as we don't see them, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Can we make it like your trousers are long and your trousers drag on the ground so they hide the shoes?
Yeah. No, I don't really. It's just the feel of them. I feel more Carl Denham when I wear these. So.
Is that extra 2 inches that important to you?
It's not the inches. It has nothing to do with inches. It has to do with the feel of for the good of the film. Thank you, though. I'm glad that you're okay with it. That's Carl Denham in a nutshell. You can laugh, but I think these are right for the character.
Absolutely.
It's not really about how they look. It's more about how I feel.
Right.
And they do make me feel more.
And you feel like Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carl the filmmaker.
Thank you. I'm glad you see things my way.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, Mr. Black.
No problem at all. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good to see you. Booyah.
Just remember everybody's sense of speed and urgency, please. And action. And cut. That's good. Jack's so much better. Hey, Jack.
Yeah.
That's good, mate. Much better.
Oh, good.
We're just going to do one more for luck.
I felt good on that one. Good.
So it's day 48 and we're in the jungles of Skull Island. Not particularly spectacular on set. This is like a kit set jungle, a build your own jungle. But of course the real jungle is going to be appearing in the blue screen. That's where all the spectacular stuff is. And you'll have a look at those little orange markers on the blue screen. They're critical to the process.
Right, well that's because there are holes in the screen. And they're just to cover them and they couldn't find any blue gaffer tape.
Well actually they're not dots, they're squares. It's to keep a guy named Malcolm Angel employed.
Tracking markers. What we're doing is creating a virtual camera which mimics the movement of the real camera, and we use that for any computer generated portions of the shot. sets.
So with the computers tracking the camera movement, the combination of miniatures and real footage is going to be used to create the jungles. Jeremy Bennett and Gus Hunter, two of our conceptual artists, have been working for well over a year on creating looks for our Skull Island jungles.
Once the artwork's approved, it goes to either art department to build the set, or it then goes down to ultimately miniatures, who will produce the sort of mid-ground elements and sometimes the background elements before you hit the digital matte painting in the deep distance. The beauty of working in Photoshop here using photographic elements is that the amount of information we can convey in the paintings proves to be very, very helpful to Alex Funky.
When we start, the production illustration just gives us the basics, how big things are, where they are, what kind of trees they are, things of that kind. But it also contains all the details that Peter has seen and has developed maybe over a number of paintings, things that he really wants to see. The beam of light coming through here, the fact that the distant trees are gradually fading out into the smoke, how much smoke you see here compared to how much smoke you see here, what kind of plants are growing on this little rocky section. All these things we can get just from looking at this painting.
One thing with conceptual art is that often the art looks amazing, but you can never actually recreate it on film. So I was very determined that our conceptual designs for our jungle were actually achievable, because I didn't want art that got us all excited and then we couldn't actually get that look on film. So earlier this year we instigated a series of tests where we took the art that Jeremy and Gus have done and we really tried to recreate the look of the jungles on 35mm film.
So there's the painting of the log that we're working from. Here's the real log. Very, very small, 20th scale. So what we had to do after the live action was shot of these guys walking over the sandbags was to match the contours of that ramp to the contours of this 20th scale miniature log. So all these little ups and downs are actually little ups and downs in the sandbag pile. Now there's a lot of other layers. If you look over the back there, this is not the actual relationship. There's another piece, that's a mid-ground piece, it's a bit of tree, it's this piece right here. That's coming down there. So we actually shot this in a series of layers, the reason being we want to put different amounts of smoke in it to make it look like it's getting further and further away. So it's a very evolutionary process and a very exciting one.
Once each piece is shot, then that is scanned in digital and handed over to the compositor. What we're essentially doing is trying to build all those layers and try and recreate Jeremy and Gus's vision as close as possible.
So we actually have quite evocative test shots that won't be in the movie, but they certainly represent the type of shots that we're looking to achieve in the finished film. So here we are on day 51 and it's our first day of shooting at the Skull Island wall. It's going to be a spectacular set. As in the original film, I wanted the village and the wall to have been built by the hand of some ancient civilization. And of course the Skull Island population that occupy it today are not the people that built this. The people that built these structures have long since disappeared for whatever reason. Probably something to do with dinosaurs and big gorillas, I suspect. And it's now inhabited by a much less sophisticated group of people, and they are the people that obviously take Anne and sacrifice her to Kong. Even though this set is very close to our studio base, just the fact that it is a location up on a hill, it poses all sorts of complications for the unit, and we have a tremendously hard-working unit team whose job it is to make sure that we can just show up, get out of our cars, walk on the set and start shooting. And for me that sounds simple, but for everybody else it's been an enormously difficult logistical and planning exercise.
So now we're on King Kong instead of Lord of the Rings, and we're still setting up again.
The responsibilities of a unit location manager are sort of mainly, would start with locations, is in the sense of setting up the location for the crew to come in and work. Basically when we started on this location it was a field, it just had grass, a bit of gorse, a few little shrubby bushes around the place. So we come in with some graders, we took up all the topsoil and then we brought in a whole lot of base course. All the grass had to go and we had to get all this stuff here, and it's just shingle and dirt really. It just looks like a normal shingle road now, but it was a nice green pasture at one stage. That enabled the art department and that to bring all their machinery in and put the containers up, do all the scaff work and get the set ready. Once we start filming, the unit's in charge of looking after the crews.
Today we've got 4 shuttle drivers, which might increase to 6, moving crew from a parking area to the location because there's diddly squat room on the location.
Since 6 o'clock this morning, half a dozen of our transport boys have been down here, wrapping all the trucks, getting them all warmed up and travelling them back to Crawford. The camera is one of our vital trucks that we have to get up on site first because we need to have it powered up for the batteries.
This is us.
Up top there, we had to sort of do some more grader work and flatten out some of the hill. It was a bit of a slope and we had to sort of flatten it all out and make a big space up there, which is about the size of a rugby field, maybe a bit smaller for the caravan park up there.
That's Steve Harvey. He's in charge of maintaining and setting up our caravans.
When we bring units up here, like the campers and the swagmen and the trailers, we've got to water them up, power them up, make sure they're basically all go. On a site like this, you've really got to take care of the sanitary side of things, obviously the toilets and things like that. It's just home away from home really, just like going camping at Christmas.
So the actors all sort of hang out up there, sort of keep away from us. Nice little hideaway for them. It's the best spot on set, to be honest. Power for the site comes from that power line. It sort of runs down. We've got a temporary box here to set up for the power. There's our 63 phase, which feeds most of the construction site. We will be drawing too much power for this site, for this thing to handle, so we've got generators to help sort of spread the load a bit.
We've got, in this one at this stage, 4 generators split into 4 corners of the location, and we're basically just providing lighting power. Whenever anything else crops up, we'll jump in and provide them whatever else they need.
The tents are set up for 2 reasons. There's a couple of big tents over there. The far one is the wetter tent, which is for getting the native extras ready. The other tent is for catering for the crew.
We've got 400 people, cast and crew to feed today. For that we need 2 catering trucks, infrastructure of power, water. We've also got a coffee truck on location so people can die and live on flat whites.
Welcome to the coffee truck.
If it wasn't for the unit department, then the crew wouldn't have somewhere to eat, they wouldn't have power or water, the set wouldn't be able to be built. Yeah, hey, we're the backbone of this whole industry.
So that's the end of this video diary. Now we're going to keep these going, we're really having a lot of fun making them, but we actually thought it might be quite good to send out an invitation to all of you folk who watch these. If there's anything that you want to know about the production of the film, you know, King Kong is obviously what we're making, but either about Kong in particular or about filmmaking in general, why don't you let the Kong is King website know about it, and we can carry on doing these video diaries and start incorporating some specific answers to questions that you may have or things that you want to learn about. Fire in the questions. We're here and we'll read them and we'll see what we can do. So it's day 53. We're still shooting on our Skull Island village set. It's interesting some of the things you have to deal with filmmaking, and one of the things you may not know about is that the studio often arranges visits of press while you're filming. That gives the press an opportunity to visit the set, to describe what they see on the set, to interview the actors and while they're actually working. And today we're hosting a visit of a group of international press, and it's fun to see them down here in New Zealand, and they're having a look around and you'll be able to get to meet some of them. How are you guys, right?
Well, nice to see you. How are you?
They're just really excited to be here. A lot of them have travelled from Europe and Germany and Switzerland.
And I'm very happy, to have travelled to the far side of the world to follow it. And I look forward to write an article for the people in Little Denmark, about this great production.
We try to get them onto set as often as we can, which can be quite tricky. We work closely with the ADs to see where we should and shouldn't stand.
Going on the set for about 3 minutes before we're told to get off because we're in Namely What's sightline, but I'm sure we'll get another chance to go back on. Look, it's exciting. Makes me want to be an extra for about 10 minutes.
When we do interviews, when we manage to get actors, we try to get them to commit to about a 20-minute interview, which they will do with all 16 journalists.
They gathered you all, and I feel like I should do a sermon.
Shove it through the mouth, maybe. So, you're Jack, right?
I'm Jack.
So what kind of dude is Jack?
Obviously the journalists just love getting an opportunity to speak to the actors and hear about their experiences with Peter, and at the moment the questions seem to be quite general.
Jack, can we start please by getting
your take on the whole King Kong thing as a kid when you first saw it there?
Well, I think I saw the remake first.
So when did you see the originals that were?
The original? I saw it when it came out. When was that? 70?
No, the 1933
Oh,
one
the
is-
original.
Yeah, original.
None of the journalists have read the script. They all know that the movie's based on the 30s version, so they have something to reference.
So it's completely different to the 1976 version where all the villagers live behind the wall.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you got a special question that you want to ask him? Do you want to get in there in front of all
No,
these?
not by now.
You're just going to sit back and listen. Within a group of 20 or 16 journalists that we've got at the moment, you've probably got about 4 or 5 journalists that ask the main group of questions.
I will ask to Naomi Watts, how does it feels to be eventually compared with somebody like Jessica Lange or to the other girl of the 30s movies.
And fortunately for this group, they're actually a really smart group of people, so they've asked really good questions.
Why is King Kong timeless?
Timeless?
Timeless.
Yeah. Why?
Why? What in your eyes, I mean, everyone will have their own take on what makes it timeless and magical.
Timeless?
Timeless. Sorry. He's a foreigner. I know.
He grew up in the wild.
I know.
We have a shot at Shabby.
As soon as I leave here, I'm going for elocution or electrocution.
Because I said timeless and you said yes.
It's tough to have a whole lot of journalists together because everyone's looking for their own angle for a story, and everyone's in exactly the same situation, listening to exactly the same words from everyone.
Can you tell us about the excitement you're clearly feeling as your Kong, the beast you're creating, is developing? And I mean, and you're quite cunningly keeping from us, obviously,
Yes.
for very obvious reasons.
We have noticed.
Well, we have. No, to be completely honest with you, as of today, I haven't seen Kong myself.
I don't know if you have known the film called Godzilla, but we do this like King Kong versus Godzilla in Japan.
King Kong, the king of all monsters. Even better than Godzilla. He's stronger and smarter than Godzilla. Godzilla's a stupid lizard. King Kong is almost a man, a giant man. Sasquatch, if you will.
The whole day has been one surprise after another, as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, it's been great just to be on the set and see the scope of the thing. I think it's been very impressive.
It's this impressive Great Wall I just am looking at right now. It's so amazing. It must have cost a lot of $1 million.
So they're really just here to soak up the environment, get a sense of what filming is like, get a sense of what Peter Jackson's like as a director, how the actors like to work, a little bit of the story, but it's really a preliminary feeling out how the movie is and working out what kind of coverage they want to do and how they want to use their interviews in the future.
It'll probably start covering next month, but I think I have a deadline of next week or something to get the first thing out. So, because people in New Zealand are, they have vested interest in all of this. They take all this Peter Jackson's work very personally, and so I think they're going to be wanting to follow along the whole process of the thing.
Thanks, Peter.
Nice
to see you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
See you, mate. Okay, nice to meet you again. See you.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right, back to the tent.
So it's the end of day 58 today, and we've been ploughing through your requests. This is just a few of them, but they're the ones that specifically wanted to know about the art department and the on-set art department and how they get ready for a day's shooting. So for Anthony, Mark, Jordan, Barb, and all the others that wanted to know about the art department, we've had our cameras following our team over the last couple of days. Yesterday we were on the Skull Island set, and today we're back on the jungles of Skull Island. So they're two very different days, and we thought we'd just follow the art department around for a couple of days and show you what happened.
You may think that the art department builds a set and that's it, but that's not it. We're constantly revising sets, building new sets, always just trying to stay ahead of the shooting crew. And of course on the day, the shooting crew, they get to the set needs to be redressed, turned around, and that's why we have a on-set art department.
The responsibility of the on-set art director and his team is to make sure that
the set is exactly as Peter wants it.
Maybe another one here, so because that's a step that they're obviously going to come up. Sure.
He just adjusts things on the day so that it suits Peter and what he wants to shoot.
What Peter wants is one of these skeletons over here, dressed in the foreground of this wide angle as the heroes come through the set here. So we're just working out the lens size and we can build something that works for the shot.
The art department, for camera department, is a very important member of the team. They create all this stuff and then we just turn up and go, mate, get that out of here, will you? And they just take it away. It's fantastic. So you see what they're doing here? They've removed all of this because we're walking about here with a steady cam. And then when we back over there, it's all going to have to go back in and no one's going to say please or thank you. It's just the job he took. What can you say?
We have, you know, standby chippy, standby props, standby painter, standby greens, so that anything that needs little repairs on the way through, or if paint gets knocked off anything, they would fix it up.
If we have to move a whole bunch of rocks around, they tend to get knocked away a bit, so it's kind of just damage control really, so it's nothing too detailed, but just to make sure there's no big patches of white showing, spot there, for example.
One of the things he really likes is to dress to camera.
Yeah, now there is the other choice. This is actually Murray, but there is Wayne who's on the other ruin, and I think we should get Wayne and just see if he's a bit better than Murray.
Murray's a bit stiff, is he?
Well, Wayne's all curled up, and it might look more. It might look more, you know, more of a sort of ceremonial death rather than someone who looks like they've just been shot and left lying there.
So Wayne, you finally made it. Pete likes him, so we're going to poke him in the spot where Murray is and see how he performs. He's happy. Yay! He might have been a bit bleached in the sun. We'll probably do a bit of treatment on him to knock him back and dust him up and gravel him up to make him look like he's been here for some time.
Can you hear now?
Vietnamese torture, tie them up like that, and they untie them, they can't stand up.
Well, it's just a bit of masking.
Oh, well, where I was told to take these was right up
bring
top.
up some rib shape.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love that, son. Nice.
Are these going to look funny lined up like that? I reckon they'll look quite ceremonious.
Ceremonial in the extreme.
So they're busy. They're not just sitting there looking at it. They're usually very, very busy. And all the ground dressing, all the shells, all the detritus from their eating, which is mostly fish based.
We'll walk on them and break them and just sort of do whatever it needs to make them the right colour or texture, or we just sort of work on them offset and then throw them on, and if it's still not right, the on-set crew will do it.
We use various different types of sand depending on the set that we're working on. If it's a dark set, we'll go for a darker sand, just whatever really suits the part. And right here we have these larger rocks. We also have painted these. We paint them with a blue base and then a black overcoat to get this color that we have now. They were these here, and that's the difference after the paint. What we do is kind of intermingle all of them together to get the visual we're looking for, more of a natural look where people can walk by and not see that it's been placed there. So we also get what's called mingy and such things like that from the bush around the area around here.
Since we're not shooting on location, everything from the largest rock wall to the tiniest leaf needs to be built.
Mount Crawford was really physical, heavy, hard work, like lugging rocks and sand and stuff around, and not hardly any greenery.
We have a huge nursery out the back that we built especially for this movie.
Which is located just directly behind the studio, and you can see Kong stage directly behind me.
Because you can only leave them in a studio for a certain amount of time before they start to look a bit sick. So you have to take them back out into the nursery and bring in new ones and feed them up again and make them healthy.
Because film sets aren't really the kindest places to bring plants into, just with all the lights and extra feed that are around on a crew. So you're better off going for more native sort of plants.
A good 20 different varieties of plants, and all of those are living specimens grown in bags right here, and then when we put them on set we make sure to keep them well watered. Besides that, the moss would be the other major live specimen.
Lots and lots of living mosses, but we have a bit of fun with some synthetic things as well.
Our number one fake moss is this fun fir, and it just comes in mats. We burn it with propane to get it curly, and it actually gives a really real look.
Well, Wellington's pretty good for beech forests. Most of it is very light, so what we have to do is paint it all back so it doesn't ping out in the lights, so you're not getting lots of spots of white, which will look a lot like all this polystyrene that's here, which we have to paint back as well.
Taking photographs on set is probably one of the most important things that the on-set crew do for them and for us off-set, because it's for continuity. You may have to go back to that same set or maybe rebuild it 2 months later, and it's amazing what you forget without a photograph.
Everywhere you go, you need to know what it was, so that you just make those wonderful continuity mistakes that people are looking for all the time.
I've just taken a photo of the skeleton down there and the dressing, so if we do have to return here, we can match how it was. And yeah.
Stay down here till we not the butt hole, Jack. I wanted to touch it, see how real it was. Very real. It's very real. I think it will be available for hire at the weekend.
Well, as you can see, the art department's constantly in motion, and it's time to move on to the next set.
So hopefully that gives you a bit more of an idea of the art department, and we're going to keep going through the questions. There's lots of good ideas here, so we're inspired. We'll keep these production diaries coming, keep the questions coming, but we've already got a few ideas for the next week or two, so look forward to seeing you all again soon. So here we are, it's day 62, and we're shooting on the shoreline of Skull Island, which is our wet set in the back lot here. And this is another one of our requests from the viewers, if you like, and this one was requested by a lot of people. A surprising number of people actually wanted to know about the cameras, the type of cameras that we're using and how that they work.
This is a 35mm motion picture camera, and today it's got a 32mm lens on and a filter which is an 81EF, which is going to make the daylight slightly cool because this is a pre-dawn sequence. And we're filming right behind you.
So for Heinz and for Brian and Keith and Mark and Philip and Peter and many other people, this video diary is going to focus on our cameras.
Now what happens is the light comes through the lens through here, and it takes off. And what happens is it hits that mirror, and that mirror spins around like that 24 times a second. And when it hits the mirror, the light travels up here into the eyepiece so the operator can see. And then when it only spins around half, it exposes the film, and that's where we get our pictures. This is the first shot of the day. 164 Alpha Take 1, A marker, guide track. Mark. B marker. Sit! Sit!
Camera reload.
This is loading the camera, reading the camera. If you look in here, you can see a little gap in there, that's the camera gate, and that's where the film gets exposed. And then what happens is these pins come out, they're called the registration pins. They hold the film steady when the film's been exposed, and then pull down the pause, come down again, and that happens 24 times a second.
This is an LCS, which stands for Lens Control System, which is essentially just a remote focus device which enables me to step away from the camera and pull focus remotely without actually needing to be anywhere near the camera.
You can imagine you've got like a manual camera at home and you're taking a photo, you've got to focus it up, but in this situation with a motion picture camera, actors may be moving or the camera might be on a dolly and it'll be tracking in and moving, so the focus needs to be adjusted constantly during the shot, and that's what the focus puller does. The other things focus puller does is they're responsible for the camera, like this little 235.
This is the Aricam Lite, it's one of our cameras that we're using. It's a lightweight camera, great for handheld. Now I've got your exposed film counter. You see a raw stock, so that's the amount of footage remaining. You can reset that
fire reset button. Over here we have city tape, which isn't actually part of the camera, it's just an accessory. That's like a digital tape measure. Ultrasound out comes out through the front of these two horns. Down here we have the frames per second. That's all changeable there, 1 to 40 frames. And it's your on-off button.
We have 3 cameras on this setup. We have a 65mm camera, which Simon Harding is operating, which is filming a reverse of Naomi to Adrien. We have Reese on a 40mm, filming a slightly wider shot of the same activity. And I am on a 20mm lens, which is a wide-angle lens.
These are different focal lengths for different shots that you may want to compose depending on the drama of the situation. The higher the number, the longer the lens. For instance, if you shot from the same spot, the same subject with a 50, and then changed to 100, you'd have a much tighter shot.
Whatever you've done at 28 and just open it up. It might be too wide, but Simon, 28 will be good. Yeah, 28 will be good. Yeah. 28, try that. 28, yeah. There's no reason going tighter.
40 to 28, going wider. This is the T-stop, the aperture. T-stop's measured once the light's travelled through the lens, whereas in an f-stop in a stills camera, the light's measured before it comes through the lens. And this is the zoom. Obviously it moves around there.
Maybe this.
Tight end there, 290, and out to 24. And this is your focus scale here. And that's it.
Magazine refers to the film holder.
These are 1,000-foot mags. The other ones are a bit smaller, and they're 400-foot mags. The reason we have 400 and 1,000 is because the
caps on.
The 1,000-foot mags are very heavy, so 1,000-foot is production mode, 400-foot is for handheld.
One magazine, 400 feet of unexposed. One here we have 350 of exposed meat.
400 feet would have 4 minutes of shooting on it. That's at 24 frames, which is the normal real time. We can go high speed up to 150 frames, which means this would last 60 seconds at the most.
And cut. That's good. That's great. We can check that. Thank you. Good. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll check that.
During the shot, you can get a bit of dirt build up or a scratch. What we check for is it's just see that it's clear basically, and that there's no damage. No damage to the film, and that way we can move on to the next shot.
Thanks, Carol. Gates clear.
And thank you, everybody. That is the shooting range.
I heard that Vigo slept with his sword to get in a character, so I sleep with my camera. Don't touch my camera. All right.